Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. This is Revealing the Narc, and on this channel we dive deep into the intriguing world of narcissism. I'll often use public figures as examples to illustrate these behaviors and how they can manifest in real life. If this content is interesting to you, please like and subscribe. And I should mention, everything that is in these videos is my opinion and it is all allegedly. We all know that Meghan has said that she did absolutely no research into Harry and into his family, and she really had no idea who the royal family were and how important they were in the entire world. So what I wanted to do was look up articles about Prince Harry that were published in or about 2015 and 2016. And the goal for me to do this is to try to figure out ways that Meghan could have taken that information and love bombed Harry. So let's start with the first article. So the title of this article is Prince Harry Bears All on Girlfriends and the Gaping Void Left by His Mother as He Opens the Invictus Games. It was published in the Telegraph on May 9, 2016. Allegedly, Harry and Meghan met in July of 2016, but I've done a video on this and I believe that that date is actually closer to May. We'll discuss it. Maybe I'll discuss it again in another interview. But in either case, this article was published around the time that Harry and Meghan met. Okay, so let's see what this article says. It says, in his most revealing series of interviews yet, Prince Harry has spoken of his struggles to find a partner, his difficulties in filling the gaping void left by his mother, and his turmoil at the scrutiny which dominates his life. Privacy. Harry said the royal family is completely aware that we are in a very privileged position, but criticized incessant intrusions. During interviews with the BBC and Sunday Times, the prince admitted to massive paranoia about even talking to women because of the ferocious attention. Even if I talk to a girl, that person is then suddenly my wife, and people go knocking on our door, he said. Harry added, everyone has a right to their privacy, and a lot of the members of the public get it, but sadly, in some areas, there is this incessant need to find out every little bit of detail about what goes on behind the scene. It's unnecessary. So picture yourself as Meghan Markle. You love being on the headlines. You love getting all the attention. This is in direct conflict with what you want. However, you know that this is something that is critically important to the man that you want under your spell, allegedly, and in my opinion. So, as if she were a narcissist, which I believe that she is, this is going to be one of the ways that she will try to hook him. And also notice, this is so important to Harry, it's the very first part of the article. Girlfriends. The intense public interest surrounding failed relationships with Cressida Bonus and Chelsea Davy has concerned Harry. If or when I do find a girlfriend, I will do my utmost to ensure that me and her can get to the point where we're actually comfortable with each other before the massive invasion that is inevitably going to happen into her privacy, he said. Wow. This is foretelling exactly what happens. So Meghan, if she read this article before she met him, she knew she had to agree with this because this is important to him. Her natural instinct is, let's get out there and tell the world we're together. And she tried to hint through Instagram. She kept hoping that they would get caught. But to his face, she was pretending that, you're right, we need to keep it private so we really get to know each other. And also, if you remember in the engagement interview, this is something that she mentioned very proudly, that we really got to know each other in those couple of months. It was all, in my opinion, part of the love bombing, part of getting him trapped. The article continues. To be fair, I haven't had that many opportunities to get out there and meet people. At the moment, my focus is very much on work. But if someone slips into my life then that's absolutely fantastic. The kind of life that most people take for granted is simply not an option. So, here Harry is describing exactly how you can get to him. It needs to be someone that slips into his life. He doesn't have an opportunity to go out and meet people. So these are all hints that I'm sure Meghan took note of. When people finish work in the city or wherever work is, if you want to have a bit of downtime, you might go to the pub with your mates, he said. I do that less because it's not downtime for me. I don't know who I'm going to bump into. I don't know if someone's going to try and grab a selfie. I don't know who's going to be waiting outside. So there's very little private life. This already implies that if you are going to start dating him, it's going to be quiet and private, and a lot of people are not going to know about it. So you really start practicing how to make that roasted chicken, right? If you get my drift. Diana and her legacy. Harry says he is still trying to fill an unbelievable pair of boots left by the death of her mother. Oh, it should say his mother, in a Paris car crash in 1997. What you see is what you get with me, he said. It's genuine. I will always try and bring an element of fun and happiness to everything I do. That probably is subconsciously very much a part of my mother, trying to fill that void, trying to fill an unbelievable pair of boots. Whether it's her or especially the Queen, it's a hard thing to do. So I think maybe one of the things that's a takeaway from this is what you see is what you get. I think Meghan tried to play that up. What you see is what you get, and that there's an element of fun and happiness to everything I do. And let's rewind to some pictures we saw of their trip to Africa where she's jumping in the air, or there's that video of them in the cottage and she's doing a really funny dance. So I think she had in mind that there are times that she needs to act fun and maybe a little goofy in order to match his energy, in order to make it seem like they have a lot more in common than he would have ever thought they could have had. The article continues. Harry added, There's this gaping void, not just in mine and William's lives, but there's a huge gaping void in a lot of other people's lives too, Harry said. She's got a lot of unfinished business. This shows you that Harry is looking to continue the torch and pass the torch. And it says a lot. It says a lot about what his goals for the future are. And if you know about narcissists, one of the things they're really good at doing is future faking. They will sit there and fantasize with you and come up with scenarios of how wonderful everything is going to be. And this is probably, really good information to future fake with him. Harry is now resolutely continuing campaigning against AIDS, an issue close to his mother's heart. She smashed the stigma around HIV on more than one occasion. It had a huge impact and a huge impact on my life as well. Job. The prince indicated he is bothered by his Playboy image and criticism that the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh carried out more official engagements than him, William, and Kate combined. I thought long and hard about getting a job, he said. I did 10 years ago in the army. Best job in the world. I wanted to be valued in society in that sense. I don't get any satisfaction from sitting at home on my arse. And that's a body part, by the way, and not a swear word. Well, I just want to add some commentary here because we've come a long way, and unfortunately, this past week, Harry was on the Jimmy Fallon show, and there were multiple swear words coming out of his mouth. So in 2016, he was very concerned that his language was proper, and unfortunately, by now, that caution has been thrown to the wind. The article continues, his efforts to find a full-time job have been hampered by the difficulty of combining a profession with other royal duties. The reality is that most of the areas that I looked at just simply weren't going to work. Some jobs are not even on the table, sadly. He added, I just hope that people read this article and go, fair enough. He's digging out blind military slang for making an all out effort. He's doing the best he can. I need to earn more respect from a lot more people. Of course I do. So this implies that Harry is looking for purpose and he wants to do something that's meaningful. And this is something, if a narcissist knows in advance, can use to manipulate by doing what I said earlier before, and that's future faking. Harry is keen to become a rugby coach, and next year will build what aides call a more formal role in championing the sport. Toll taken by Army. I do miss the Army, Harry said. It was a hideaway, which was great and something that I needed at that time in my life. It teaches you courage, discipline, respect for others, the value of friendships, and respect for the monarchy. However, he said one of the reasons he left the Army was because royal duties had begun to increase, and I felt unsafe flying that aircraft and not being as up-to-date and as able and skilled as everybody else. He disclosed that his service had ravaged parts of his body. I've actually been receiving a bit of medical care on my body, which has basically been ruined over the last 10 years of Army service. Caring for veterans. Harry's Army experience made him a passionate campaigner for veterans' causes, most notably launching the Invictus Games, the Paralympic-style sporting event for wounded and injured servicemen and women in 2014. The 2016 event started Sunday in Orlando, Florida. But when asked whether he thinks enough is being done for veterans, he said no. I don't think enough's being done. Of course, the government could do more. Harry also described concern at cuts to the military, also works with his brother William and sister-in-law Catherine, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, on the Heads Together mental health campaign, which focuses on the invisible journeys suffered by former military personnel. His darkest hour. In 2008, the prince was pulled out of Afghanistan during his first tour when the Australian media blew his cover. He described the ordeal as really dark, really bad times, racked with guilt. To be pulled out, leaving your blokes behind, was one of the darkest moments of my life, he said. Not knowing if I was going to get a phone call saying 3 of your blokes have just been blown up after you left Afghanistan, and that was completely out of my control. Playing polo. Harry admits getting a little bit of grief for playing the elite pastime. I know it doesn't look great riding around playing solo, but it is the best form of raising that much money for so many charities. On a charity outing in South Africa last year, Harry said, I fell off twice on my head. Wow, I didn't know that. However, he is saddened younger generations are on computers instead of outside playing sport. I had an imagination. Now it's like there's an iPad, off you go. It's all created for you. All you have to do is press buttons. That worries me. George and Charlotte. Harry believes he might become boring now Prince George and Princess Charlotte, his niece and nephew, are beginning to hog royal headlines. I'm in this privileged position and I will use it for as long as I can, or until I become boring, or until George ends up becoming more interesting, he laughed. Yet he loves his role as uncle. You know what it's like with other people's children. It's great, and then when they start crying, it's like, here, have them back. The Invictus Games are a Paralympic-style event for injured servicemen and women and veterans created by Harry in 2014 to demonstrate the power of sports to inspire recovery, support rehabilitation, and to demonstrate life beyond disability. Wounded, injured, or sick armed service personnel take part in various sports, including wheelchair, basketball, sitting volleyball, and indoor rowing. So based on this article, everyone, so this is where the article ends. Based on this article, I feel there is a wealth of information that could be used to manipulate Harry as soon as the date began. And this is just one article. I'm going to go through 10 different articles to provide an analysis. But what I want to do now is talk about 3 ways based on this particular article that Meghan could have love bombed Harry, allegedly, and in my opinion. The first thing she could have done is idealized him. And I think it's because when you read that article, he sounds a little bit lost, he sounds a little bit deflated, and he sounds quite lonely. So she could have flattered and idealized Harry, emphasizing his strengths and accomplishments, making him feel exceptionally special and admired, which can create a strong emotional bond. And I think one of the biggest points of this article that we can look to for this is when the article is talking about Prince George and Princess Charlotte and how he's already beginning to feel irrelevant. So although he didn't use those words exactly, that I believe that those are the feelings behind those words. The second thing she could have done based on this article alone is manipulate his vulnerability. So Meghan might have used Harry's vulnerability regarding his mother's death to foster intimacy, presenting herself as someone who deeply understands and empathizes with his pain, thereby positioning herself as indispensable in his healing process. We do know that she went to their first date wearing Princess Diana's perfume. So there is history there of trying to use Princess Diana in manipulating him. And what she could have done during this date is provide examples of how maybe she's been estranged from her family, and although it wasn't a physical death, these kinds of relationships have ended. In order to draw parallels and connect with him. I mean, who knows what kinds of stories she would have told, but they would be along those same lines of experiencing such a great loss. And she could have tried starting to control him already through crisis. She may have heightened drama or crises around their relationship to keep him focused on her, reinforcing her centrality in his life while simultaneously portraying herself as the one who can provide solace and understanding. We know that this is true because just a couple of days after it was publicly announced that they were dating, he released a statement, and he had never done that for any other girlfriend. So this is not something Harry would ordinarily do, and Meghan must have put herself as a damsel in distress in order for Harry to come to her rescue and release a statement about the articles that are being put out about Meghan and her privacy being violated. Also, we know now that Harry says that he was a young boy and he couldn't save his mother. So there is a part of him that tries perhaps to put himself in situations where the woman that is the most important to him, if she's in danger, he is going to do his best to save her. So in a way, he is recreating that childhood circumstance with Meghan, and Meghan is exploiting that. So Meghan is purposely putting herself in the position of a damsel in distress, and in this way causing Harry to be manipulated, and I would even venture to say trauma bonded, in order to try to save her, because he couldn't save his mother. So that is all I have for you today. I'm going to continue this series with 9 other articles and how the information from those articles could have been used to manipulate Harry and love bomb him on the first couple of dates that they went on. If you have any feedback or comments, I'd love to hear them. I'd love to hear all of them. Yeah, so drop them in the comments. And if this content is interesting to you, please like and subscribe. And if you think your friends would enjoy listening to it too, please send it over to them. I can't wait until our next video. So have a good night, everyone. Goodbye.